What happens when a comedian doesn't try to be funny at all and still ends up completely destroying the biggest celebrities in the world? We're talking about a man whose silence is louder than most punchlines, whose blank expressions are more dangerous than jokes, and whose presence alone can turn a normal interview into pure chaos.
I'm sitting here with Will Ferrell, and there's some aspects of the movie we haven't discussed.
Would you shut the up? Shave that there, guys! Bring it out! Let's
Will
go!
Ferrell has mastered something very few comedians even understand: the power of uncomfortably dry humor. The kind that creeps in slowly, makes people question what's happening, and then hits all at once. And the scariest part? Most of the time, the people sitting next to him don't even realize they're about to break, until it's already too late. Let's dive into the moments that prove no celebrity is safe.
A lot of children. You have 4 children, and I know how you got them. Will, how did you reproduce?
I did not think that that was funny. Just for the record, my friend, I did not. Sex.
If
Surrogate. For me.
The art of saying almost nothing and still winning. Most comedians rely on energy, expressions, or loud punchlines to grab attention, but Will Ferrell flips that completely on its head. He leans into stillness, long pauses, blank stares, and responses so minimal that they feel almost uncomfortable to sit through. Imagine sitting next to someone who answers a question, then just stops. No smile, no follow-up, just silence. That silence stretches longer than expected, then longer than comfortable, until the tension becomes impossible to ignore. And that's exactly where the magic happens. Because the human brain needs resolution. It expects a joke, a signal, something to break the tension. But Ferrell denies that release, and in doing so, forces everyone else into an awkward emotional corner. Celebrities start shifting, glancing around, suppressing laughter, trying to figure out if they missed something. And then suddenly, someone cracks. Not because of what he said, but because of everything he didn't say. Interviews that slowly fall apart in real time. At first, every interview with Will Ferrell feels completely normal. The host is confident. The questions are structured. The tone is professional. But then, something small changes. Ferrell answers a question in a slightly strange way. Nothing too obvious. Just enough to feel off. The host brushes it off and moves on. But then it happens again, a slightly longer pause, a slightly weirder response. And before anyone realizes it, the entire rhythm of the interview begins to collapse. The host starts losing control of the conversation. They laugh at moments they didn't expect to. Their voice breaks. Their composure slips. And the audience can feel it, that slow descent from order into chaos. What makes it even more fascinating is that Ferrell never forces it. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't overpower, he simply nudges the situation off balance and lets gravity do the res. Breaking co-stars without warning. On a movie set, timing is everything. Actors train themselves to stay focused, to deliver lines with precision, to maintain character no matter what happens. But when Will Ferrell is in the scene, that discipline starts to crack. He'll deliver a line in the most serious, grounded way possible, even if the line itself is completely absurd. There's no wink to the camera, no signal that it's a joke, just full commitment. And that's what catches co-stars off guard. Because instead of preparing for a comedic moment, they're suddenly hit with something so unexpectedly ridiculous, delivered with complete sincerity, that their brain short-circuits. You can see it happen in real time. A slight smile, a quick inhale, eyes darting away to avoid contact. And then, it's over. They break. The scene collapses. The crew laughs. Another take ruined. And the worst part? They know it's coming next time, but it still gets them. Humor that feels too real to be a joke. One of the most unsettling things about Will Ferrell's comedy is how real it feels. He doesn't perform jokes, he behaves as if everything he's saying is completely normal. This creates a strange psychological effect. Because when someone says something absurd in a serious tone, your brain hesitates. It doesn't immediately categorize it as humor. Instead, it pauses trying to interpret whether this is real, sarcastic, or something else entirely. That hesitation is where the tension builds. Celebrities sitting with him often find themselves caught in that exact moment of confusion. They're unsure whether to respond seriously or laugh. And that uncertainty stretches just long enough to become unbearable. Then suddenly, it clicks, and the laughter hits harder than it would have if the joke were obvious from the start. The confidence of celebrities, completely shattered. Some celebrities walk into these moments prepared. They've seen the clips. They know Will Ferrell's style. They tell themselves they won't break. They sit down, composed, focused, and ready. And for a moment it works. They maintain eye contact. They respond calmly. They resist the awkwardness. But then Ferrell shifts the energy just slightly, a longer pause than expected. A comment that feels just a bit too strange. A look that lingers just a second too long. And suddenly all that preparation starts to crumble. Because resisting laughter requires control. And Ferrell's style is designed to take that control away slowly, piece by piece. By the time they realize what's happening, they're already losing. And once that first laugh escapes, there's no recovery. The unbreakable commitment that traps everyone else. What truly sets Will Ferrell apart is his absolute commitment. Once he steps into a moment, whether it's a character, a tone, or a bizarre response, he never breaks. Not even for a second. And that creates a kind of pressure that's impossible to escape. Because normally, in social situations, people rely on cues, smiles, laughter, signals that something is a joke. But Ferrell removes all of those cues. He gives nothing, and that forces everyone else to carry the weight of the moment. They become responsible for reacting, for interpreting, for breaking the tension. But the longer they hold out, the harder it becomes. Until eventually, they can't. Jokes that grow into something bigger than expected. Some of Will Ferrell's most powerful comedic moments don't land immediately. In fact, they often start so small that they're almost invisible. A simple comment, a subtle expression, a quiet shift in tone. But instead of moving on, he stays there. He stretches the moment, extends it beyond what feels natural, and lets the discomfort build layer by layer. At first, it's just mildly awkward. Then it becomes noticeable. Then uncomfortable. Then unbearable. And right at that peak, when the tension feels like it can't go any further, everything snaps. The laughter isn't just a reaction to a joke. It's a release of pressure that's been building the entire time. Why no one can match his style. Even among the funniest celebrities in the world, Will Ferrell operates on a completely different level. Because his humor isn't about being the loudest, the fastest, or the most obvious. It's about control. Control of timing, control of silence, control of tension, and most importantly, control of the room. Other comedians might try to keep up, to match his energy, to respond with their own jokes, but that doesn't work here. Because Ferrell isn't playing the same game. And by the time others realize that, they're already laughing. So the next time you see Will Ferrell sitting quietly, barely reacting, saying almost nothing, pay attention. Because in that silence, something is building. Something subtle, something uncomfortable, something you won't fully understand, until it's too late. And when it hits, no one in the room will be able to hold it together. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around.